everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. We are a weekly podcast dedicated to sincere, in-depth investigations into the paranormal, supernatural, and the metaphysical, with a special focus on the UFO topic. We take a sincere, analytical approach, thoroughly evaluating each case and its implications. Our discussions go beyond the surface as we engage with researchers, investigators, and experiencers to explore the deeper layers of their testimonies. We strive for high-resolution analysis, carefully examining evidence, patterns, and perspectives that challenge conventional thinking. If you're looking for a podcast that seeks deeper understanding, you're in the right place. Please be sure to like and subscribe and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.
Okay, welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight we have on Misha Johnston. Misha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And we have also Polly Roderman filling in as co-host for tonight, who's an abduction and contactee experiencer. So Misha Johnston is a third generation, is that right? Third generation ET experiencer. Your mother or father and their mother and father were
father and mother both.
So a third generation ET experiencer, author of I think a few different books, including this one, Covert Abduction, which I have right in front of me. And a certified hypnotherapist who has spent over 3 decades helping others navigate the mysteries of extraterrestrial contact and multidimensional awakening. From encounters with multiple species, including greys, reptilians, and mantids, to her work guiding experiencers, hybrids, and starseeds, Misha brings a lifetime of knowledge and compassion to one of the most misunderstood aspects of the human story. She's the founder of Star Family Contactee Support Group and Starseed Awakening, offering both in-person and online support for those seeking to understand their experiences, reclaim their power, and to awaken to who they truly are. Okay, if you want to add anything to that introduction, Misha.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm also a psychic. I do readings with my oracle decks. I made 2 oracle decks, and I have another book that's as Galactic Planet of Origin book, which has a chart in the back of it that I use to help people find out what their planets of origin. And the book itself gives them the information about so they could do their own readings, for instance. But I also do readings to help them find out what the galactic planet of origin is, as well as their mission, the types of ETs they've had when they started, to give them a kind of an understanding about their own experiences.
Mm-hmm. And before we go on, should we also make mention of MK Ultra? I mean, being that is a kind of big part of your background.
It is.
So you are an MK Ultra experiencer. I almost liken you to, and our viewers may know of this person if they know of any MK Ultra experiencers, Kathy O'Brien, who's was just awash with the full gamut of MK Ultra experiences and MK Ultra programming, torture and harassment and missing time and fragmented memory and compartmented personality. Do you want to give a short intro about that?
Well, I was born into an MK Ultra family, and the fact that I had Masons and Rosicrucian on both sides. I'm not saying they're all bad, but I am saying there are many sects that are, and the ones that my father was involved on my father's side, and then the other one was on my mother's side. But most important was the one that was on my father's side, which was also my grandmother, who was a Rosicrucian, shall we say, priestess herself. She was one of the only few Rosicrucians at that time, female Rosicrucians. She also was. So my MK Ultra started within my program and mind control, and when I was taken into this, let me say, trauma-based mind control at a insane asylum is where they took children at that time in the town I was in. And so, yeah, it went on from there. So I had two lives basically going on, a split life, one which was the MK Ultra and surviving that, being that my father was my trauma-based mind control torturer, and then the other side of it which was the ET experiences that our family had, as well as I had my own experience that I felt kept me from feeling so alone and feeling actually loved by the ET.
I have a question. You just mentioned about the MK Ultra, that it happened to your family. Does that mean the MK Ultra is generational somehow? And how do they pick you? And how does an experiencer make the difference between
Hello?
Hi, Misha.
Hi. Hi, Todd. I don't know what happened. Everything, I was talking and everything went off.
They're coming.
Okay.
Todd?
Well,
What happened? Did
Hmm.
the reptilians come and took Jane?
I don't know.
Like, this
I
was a live abduction? What is going on?
Did Jim get abducted? I don't know. So I was I think you asked me about MK Ultra, so I guess I'll go on with that. It is a multidimensional, excuse me, not a is a multifamilial thing. It goes on multi-generational. And yes, my father was tortured and mind controlled. And in turn, he turned on me. I was the one that stopped that kind of situations. But it is a genetic lines. I'm not sure, it's per se bloodlines, but it's definitely genetic lines that they do follow. And I went back to my grandfather, my grandmother's husband that she divorced. He was went all the way back to French royalty. So that's the only way. And then I have German on my on that father's side as well. So that's all I can say is rather, but they are.
How can a experiencer maybe make the difference between a MK Ultra experience and, like a regular experience, let's say? You know,
An ET
what kind
experience.
of things should we kind of understand during the experience to say, okay, maybe this one is an MK Ultra experience, you know?
Okay, well, all right. Well, first of all, the things you're going to understand about is that they can do screen memories themselves. The shadow government, the MK Ultra, can provide their own screen memories, unfortunately, because they are using alien technology. So they are working with some of the aliens that were, shall we say, are more in the shadow side or more malevolent, excuse me, malevolent. So I would say that if you're having an experience and it has a feel of ET, but yet there's also a government action, you see government military, you see government, you see humans that look like they're, lab coats or things like that, then you're going to understand that this may be a combination of an MK Ultra ET
Okay.
experience or ET abduction, shall we say.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please continue with your story when you were a little child.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, my ET experience, like I said, I had two parts of it. So we've already talked about the MK Ultra. I will start with the ET. And my first experience was with a very benevolent group of little furry guys. And I'm going to go very, very briefly into that, just to say that I had a year at least of experiences with these little furry guys that first time I saw them, they were in little brown hoods with, and they were hiding underneath my staircase at my family home. And I called them Bee Gees the Bears. I was 3 years old, and they were my little friends. They were my little invisible friends throughout my first actually 2 years, basically. And then the Greys came into it, and they were little Greys that I first saw that were like, I'd see 3 Greys at the window. And to me, with their little pointed chins, to me, they look like baby deers. So I'd say, the baby deers are here. It's time to go. And so I'd, go off with them. In both cases, I was taken on board ships, remembering that I think this is some of the things that children will say, oh, I was flying. Well, it could have been levitating up to a ship per se through the energy orbs and such. And as well, then I had an encounter with what I consider a tall white being, not a tall white, not the creature force based tall whites with the long straight white hair, but a one without hair that was very tall, much taller than any of the other Greys I've seen, which I've seen about 3 or 4 different types of Greys. And this ones were, he was probably 5.5 feet tall, because when I was a teenager, he was just a little bit taller than me. So about that tall, and he was a very friendly one, and he kind of was my guide, and I called him Willowy One because he didn't seem like he had any bones, and when he walked, he kind of floated. He also floated above the ground itself, or above the floor itself. And so those were the 3 main types that I had. And then I know we want to get into the reptilian experience, so I will going to get all the way ahead to 16 years old. And 16 years old is when I woke up. I went to bed and I woke up and I was out standing in a desert, and this was in Idaho, I should say. So I was standing in a desert. There was a ship up above me, and it was very close. In fact, so close that it blocked out the sky. And then I felt an energy behind me that was very massive and, just a really powerful energy. But when you're in this state, you're in a semi frozen, paralyzed state. So you can really only move your eyes. So I did, so I couldn't see what was behind me. The next thing I woke up, I'm in a ship. There were some little gray guys working gynecologically, doing examinations, which was really freaked me out because it was my first, I was a virgin at the time, and it was my first, I hadn't even had a gynecological examination at a doctor's office. So it was very crazy to me, weird and scary. And so I started getting freaked out. And then this willowy one, the white one, leaned over my head because he was at the front top of me. And he said, telepathically, which is always telepathically, and which is always holographically. You see imagery, they send you imagery. He said, this is necessary for the hybrid program where it will not harm you. And so then I was able to, of course, look around in my eyes, and I could not see really as good. The farther back I went, the less I could see. So I was looking, and I could see in the distance, which I will say that the ship that I stood under versus the ship that I was in seemed so much bigger. The ship that I was in seemed so much bigger. I don't know why, other than sometimes we found out that we were taken dimensionally and taken into another dimension. So I'm not sure, if that was the case. But in the distance, so these beings that were in hooded capes looked to be like, if you were standing and seeing them, looked like they were about that tall, what in the distance, what I'm saying. But I could tell that they were bigger beings than what I had around me. And I had this really strong same feeling that I had standing below the UFO with that heavy at frequency, not heavy, but very powerful energy. And so there were 3 cloaked beings, and I said, I know you. I know you. I recognize you. I know you. And then one step forward, dropped his hood, and he was a reptilian. Well, that freaked me out, and that was the last memory I had.
Now, was that the first reptilian experience that you had, what you just described?
Yes.
And so, but you knew them and you recognized them. So it's the first consciousness.
Energy. I recognize energy.
But you don't feel like it's possible that you had previous experiences with those reptilians or in this lifetime? Or do you feel like the energy?
No, in another lifetime.
In another lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
I have a question for you. You talked about this feeling of like being paralyzed, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I feel that too every time before my experiences, usually when I go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So there is like a question of, how does this paralyzing thing works when they connect with us? How do they use it in order to make that frequency connection or whatever happens there? Because there is a difference between the paralyzed feeling when you are having a normal dream and the paralyzed feeling when you feel like actually taken to another land or to a craft immediately, like in a second, without understanding what happened. How do they do that?
Well, I wish I could tell you how I know that they do it technically or whatever, but I did ask my willowy one, why do you paralyze this? Why do you make it so I can't move? Or other people, and they said to me, because we do not want to be harmed, nor do we want you harmed. So that's why they do the paralysis. Now that's why they do it. How they do it is a whole nother thing. I don't know how they do it. I do know that when you are about to go into an astral state yourself, like a awake astral state, and I've done this before, you yourself are absolutely like tingling to a point, that your energy is vibrating so high that you do indeed kind of get paralyzed in that state. So that's the closest thing I can say is it's the frequency that they use in order to put you into a paralysis state that, makes you to, so you can't move.
Yes, that is my feeling too.
I've gotten the impression that it's how they induce the paralysis, that it's psychic or psionic rather than technological. Seems maybe not in every because there's always variability, and we can't, account for every paralysis, of course. But it seems like with a lot of them, a being will come in, and if there's speaking, with abductees, if there's the husband, next to him, there'll be another being that seems to, like the Greys, for instance, that will tend to the husband or whoever else is in the room. And it seems like the staring oftentimes kind of correlates with the beginning of the paralysis. And it seems to me like it could be of a psychic nature rather than technological.
Yes.
I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with
Me
you.
too.
It is more of the psionic, because I had another experience where my kids told me what they saw, and I remembered the night experience I was having where I was being levitated down the hallway, and my son had the willowy one, my willowy ones. I would say it was my willowy one. I don't know for sure, but standing behind his beside him on his bunk bed, and then said telepathically, "We're not here to harm you or your mother." And then he saw me being levitated down the hall, which would led to a window. And so at that time, I was paralyzed, and there was no technology. There was just an ET on each side of me. So I would say definitely it was the psionics. And then now they took me through the window that was closed, and I did ask later I did ask my willowy one, well, how did you get me through a window that was closed? And they said, we took you through a time when there was no window there.
Oh, wow. That's a interesting answer that
So
I wouldn't have saw coming.
Dimensional kind of thing, right? So I do believe
that really causes me to scratch my head. And that's true. I wonder if, that there's some sort of time travel, just intrinsically, with what they're doing. And every time they, bring you through something, they're not just, I've always felt that maybe they're sort of taking you slightly out of the physical plane, slightly out of the physical dimension into where, it's non-physical, or there's, it's still kind of like this dimension, but maybe sort of non-physical aspect of it.
Like in
that's what they're,
fourth dimension, I think. Because once you get in the fourth dimension, you're going to be able to bilocate, time travel, and all of these things. So I think they take us just out of the third dimensional into the fourth dimensional, so that they can transport it.
Right. I almost think of
what
the
might
Philadelphia
happen
experiment.
is, sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just saying, like the Philadelphia experiment. How with technology they were able to kind of phase out slightly, from this physical dimension. The USS, was it the Eldridge or?
Oh yeah, the USS Eldridge.
Yeah, and so I've always thought that that's maybe like an analog for this in some way.
That's a great idea. 100% it is. It's a great way to look at it, because they did just phase out into another dimension, and then the people who got stuck in the ships, when they came back through, got stuck. So yeah, that's a very good point. But every time they said that to me, it's always stuck with me more than just about anything that they've ever told me telepathically. Is that
notion of that they're taking you to a time when the window
there was no window there.
Yeah.
Going back to you through your ceilings. That's how they can take you, through your roof. That's how, as a child, I was found outside of the house. So, that's how they can do that.
Well, there is, though, a certain percentage of experiencers, I would say probably the minority of them, though, who, when they're taken through the window, they will report feeling some kind of sensation. We just had an experiencer on who told us that, I'm not sure if it was a him or a her who this was, but he could feel the glass. He could feel the glass as he was moving through it, or they'd feel some sensation, maybe a very uncomfortable sensation as they're moving through, whether it's the glass or whether it's the ceiling or whatever the physical matter is. And so that, makes you think that.
I have an idea. Yeah, when I was taken through the ceiling once, I did have a feeling of like how would I put it? A fizzy feeling in my body. It was like so much more than tingling. It was like not needles per se, but really the whole body having this sensation of being like
Vibrating.
vibrating,
Mm.
but not vibrating. I mean, I think actually going into a whole nother form, perhaps formless for that time.
Many people seem to describe this sensation, and they always seem to, use this similar kind of analogy. Like it feels as if your body is disassembling down to its constituent parts, or down to the atomic level or something, like you've dissolved or something.
Exactly.
And then you're sort of constituted. And even if many experiencers who just have no kind of scientific background or anything will still kind of resort to that expression, or expressing it in that way, as if they dissolved down to the cellular or atomic level. Anyway, getting back to the three reptilians in that experience, who do you think? What was the purpose of their appearance to you in that experience, and who do you think, in hindsight, having further later on experiences with reptilians, who do you think they were, and what was that all about?
Okay, so now I have to jump forward to what I would say would be my first. I started having my lab experiences, which are military laboratory or military lab government military. Let's see, my lab military laboratory abductions are just military abductions. Okay. But I would say that, like, the military abductions would be that they wanted to find out what was going on in the ship. Why was it me? What was special or different about me? So they will do, then you go into the laboratory because they're going to test you and find out what is it that you have that the aliens want. Why specifically are they picking you to be in the genetic program? Things like that. So then I was having these experiences. So sometimes I would have them with ETs, grays that would take me. They were not the same grays that I had experience with. That's why I think these little guys were called Zeta Reticuli, or my type were. But sometimes I was taken that way. Other times I've been taken physically by men in uniforms. Which I'll tell you about that encounter later. And then other times I feel like reptilians have been there. So I believe that's when my experiences kind of changed. And that was wasn't until like 1982. Yeah. No, had to been before 82. So about 1978, I guess, would probably been in the very first my lab experiences, because that was in Ogden, Utah, before I moved to Nevada. And so I was having those experiences, being taken in sometimes in an elevator, sometimes just woke up on a base. And I'll give you a couple examples of the reptilians. So one time I woke up and I was walking down a corridor, and I could tell by the smell and by that same heavy frequency energy that there was something next to me. And telepathically, I was communicating, and I could interface with these ETs, which is one of the other reasons I do believe that they took me into the MyLab program, because I interfaced and could communicate with aliens, which I continue to do now. So he was walking, I was walking, and I knew he was walking next to me.
He was escorting you? Was he like escorting you, or was he walking where you were walking? Okay.
He was escorting me. He was not touching me. He was just escorting me. I was walking fully, though,
What kind of conscious state were you in?
I was in a, what I would call it, a catatonic, or a ketamine. when drugs like ketamine are given to people, scopolamine, those kinds of drugs, you can walk and on your own, and you may not. At the end of the thing, you don't have memories, but you can. So I was walking, and I was actually awake, and I was seeing military people pass me. I was seeing people in lab coats pass me. And they would look at me, but they wouldn't look at him. And I thought, this is weird. Why do they look at me, but they don't look at you?
Ever. So 100% of the time you saw a person, they never looked at the reptilian.
And they'd have to look up because, well, I found out how big he was later. But so no, they would just look at me. And in fact, they'd look me up and down, and they would not look at him. And I said to him telepathically, why did they look at me, not you? And he sent me back this message in my head that said, because they know better, they best honor us. We are in charge of this level. Then he gives me this imagery about a reptilian, a soldier looking at a reptilian and just really not looking at his eyes, just looking in his direction and being arrested because it was against the rules. Basically, that's my story that he's telling me. And he also gives me a scenario where one look in his eyes, which is a taboo no, because they are they're very psychic, very, very, very psychic. And when he did, he evidently went kind of crazy because he was being kind of carried off, and he was like going into this fit about seeing into his eyes. So that was that. And then I have, now when you're doing hypnosis, you're different regression and things like that. So I had that memory. So I went into regression to get a little bit more information about it. And then I had another scenario that happened that I would say the same day, I guess, or same night, I should say. And I woke up on a cot kind of thing, and there in front of me was a reptilian, and it was just standing there kind of staring at me. And I would say he was a reptoid, not a draconian, because I've seen reptoids, draconians, and I've seen a kind that are like raptors. And I said to him telepathically, why are you invading our planet? What did we do to you? And he said, we're not the invaders, you are. And then he sent me this imagery, really colorful imagery about all the dinosaurs, prehistorics, raptor types, and they're all running from these comets, hundreds of comets that are coming down. And I'm told that this is a weapon from their enemy to cause their extinction. And he said that many of us who are more intelligent and smaller went into the inner earth, and evolved to who you see before you. So I got the feeling that they were definitely the ones that went from the dinosaur time and went into the inner earth and became part of the ones that are working with our shadow government.
Amazing. So, I have a question for you. You mentioned before kind of the connection between reptilians and hybridization programs. Mm-hmm. So as far as I understand, there are kind of good reptilians and bad reptilians. Do they have their own hybridization programs, and how those hybridization programs change according to their natures?
Okay, so what I saw in my experience was I would say that the Zeta Reticula were in charge of the hybrid program. The reptilians were not. I did not see them in the hybrid program, but I will tell you that one day I had many presentations of babies, everything from babies to young toddlers, and even saw my children, teenager, and then all up into teenagers. But there's one particular time I went was taken into the nursery, and the children kind of parted, and in walked a bit stockier child than the rest of them. He had a green tone, a very light green tone, and he was really actually kind of cute, but he definitely was a reptilian hybrid. And I said, well, first of all, I asked him, I said, where is my child? And then he walked forward, and I immediately knew it was my hybrid. And I said, who's the father? And they said, well, you call him Ayano, but it is Ayano and they all. And so they were explaining to me that reptilian and human cannot genetically have a child, but the all is a group of other genetics that they will put in so that they can have the hybridization program with reptilians. But per se, nope, I didn't ever have an experience where I was just seeing reptilians and hybrid form, just that, one time there when I had a hybrid. And I ended up seeing him again when he was a young man, 18-year-old or something like that. And he still had that light green texture, very, very tiny scales, very, very small scales. In fact, when I touched him, it kind of felt like a lizard. And so that was my presentation later on with him.
Do they let humans usually come in contact with their hybrids, kind of maybe teaching these little hybrid reptilians some kind of human empathy or something? What is the goal with the reptilian hybridization program?
Okay, so yes, they do. I have memories of seeing the children, including the hybrid reptilian child, playing with other children that all looked different. Some had some other animal aspects to them too. Some had feline aspects. Some had aspects of that almost, you can say like fish kind of look to them, or you'll see like maybe kind of a dog or like a donkey kind of look. So they had not donkey, more like maybe a fox. It kind of looks more like a fox, but more in the dog. And so they'd have those kinds of features, but they weren't like, with pointed noses and things like that. You could just see those features within them. But it seemed like the human was the predominant genetic that was in them. So, and that's because they take our eggs and use our eggs. So it's the female's eggs, which is going to have all of the genetics and stuff from the human. So I think so then they add in the genetics from the other. And I will tell you, as far as I am concerned with Ayano, I have no memory of any kind of physical touch or reaction with him, except for, I'm going to go to an experience where he first showed up himself as energy. First time I saw what I found out was Ayano. And remember, Ayano is the reptilian that I saw when I was 16. And he showed up as this energy form, and that's how he was for weeks or months. However, it's hard to kind of put it all together, but within those periods of times at first, even on board the ship, I'd never seen him anything except for a human form and this energy. And so one night I saw that human form that I saw on the ship. So I really thought it was just a human. And then the energy form was maybe their traveling orb or something. But then I saw him as this human, and I said, I know you're not this human. I know you're another form. Please tell me who you are. Show me what you look like. And he said, it's always telepathically. He told me, are you sure? Are you ready? And I said, yes, Shelley, I want to know. But are you absolutely sure? I could be frightening. Basically, he's giving me this indication about being fearful. And I said, no, I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready. Show me. And so I remember I told you about that vibrational fizzy energy. Well, there he was in the human form. And then he kind of like physically changed into a reptilian. And I saw first his claws. And then because I was kind of a little bit above, my head was just about looking at his chest. And so I saw his belt, and he had this belt thing that was like this, like a triangle. And I do believe it was probably a teleportation, or maybe it was something for communication. I really don't know. And I saw that. And then I saw that he had claws on his feet and claws on his hands. And then I looked up and saw his face, because he was like 7.5 feet tall. And he was this very kind looking lizard-like reptile. But now I'm terrified of reptiles. I hate snakes. Oh my God, I hate snakes. Still to this day. Still to this day, I do not like snakes. I don't. And I don't know how I can, have love this being, which I do love. I know, but his face doesn't look as much like a snake. I wish I could show the people that. I guess he looks more like to me, a gecko. Maybe geckos don't bother me like that, but I saw him, and he kind of freaked out. A couple of seconds, I did kind of freak out and go, "Oh my God!" and I saw him, and it was okay. It was okay that he was a reptilian, and he'd always been kind to me, and always had the most unconditional, loving energy towards me. So then, okay, so now I'm going to tell you the experience where I had the closest physical contact. I don't ever remember having any contact with him, but one night I woke up and he was hovering above me, say about 12 inches, maybe a little, maybe a little over a foot above me. And so he was hovering directly face to face, and he was hovering there, and I went, ah! It startled me. And he, went and kind of disappeared from there and went to there. And he said, I'm sorry, I did not want to startle you. I just wanted to feel your energy. And I said, oh, okay. Then another time, I'm going to tell you, this is, of course, years in advance. So this is all during that same kind of span of from 82, which is the first time I met him, to say like 2000. And so this other time I was in a relationship with, I had a boyfriend, and one night when we were in an intimate situation, all of a sudden an energy above him opened up, and I didn't really realize what it was. And then all of a sudden he was like not himself, shall we say. He was not himself, and it was quite amazing, and not himself. And I had a full kind of just like I'd had that. Oh, and I forgot to tell you the important part. So when he was hovering above me, I had a full body kind of energy orgasm. Okay. So that same thing happened to me again when I was with the boyfriend. And when I realized that wasn't my boyfriend, I said,
oh my God.
I screamed out,
What is
Ayano,
going on?
what are you doing? And of course my boyfriend read, what? And then he, Ayano left, and he was of course very because he realized his body had been taken over. And Ayano said to me, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to feel what it would be like to be with you again. So throughout that time, I also, I did get some memories and have through hypnosis. And I found out I had 3 lives with him, 1 human and 2 reptilian lives, where he and I were both reptilians and both husband and wife, or shall we say mates in those lives. So it goes, into other dimensions, our relationship, shall we say. So he even showed up one night to me in a dream as the human again that he was in the first place, and we were in a garden and we were sitting and talking, and there were people around us having some kind of a drink or something like that. So we were not on this planet; we're off this planet, and he goes and he says to me, "Is this an image that is more pleasing to you?" Telepathically, of course. And I said, well, yes. And he says, okay, that's why I'm here this way. So, but again, after that particular time, I also found out in hypnosis in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, actually 10 years ago to the last 4 years, I've had several dreams, not dreams, but hypnosis sessions about him. And I find out that, we had those 3 lives together. One as a human and 2 as a reptilian. One was when we were being invaded by the Draconians, and the Draconians were coming to our planet, and they were, and my husband comes running into my home, which, by the way, we lived in the inner parts of that planet, so we lived underground, and it came to my very, by the way, modern looking place. It was very modern. It was all like talk and telepathically be able to use as I was cooking. And so I was not like cooking with pots and pans. I was cooking with what I would say is materialization type things. Anyway, so he comes running and he says, we have to leave. And we have to leave now. And because the Draconians are coming and they are going to take over the planet. And so so we're trying to get together and run over there. Tried to get together and get out of there, but we did not make it in time. And we ended up dying on that planet because Alpha Draconians destroyed it. So we're enemies. The reptilian Ayano and his breed, his race, is enemies of the Alpha Draconians.
Well, that's so beautiful. Hearing you sharing with us all this story is so beautiful, because we usually hear all the reptilian all the reptilian behavior like something so aggressive and whatever is going on and suddenly you hear your story so full of love and support, and even looking for you in such an intimate place and moment, with your boyfriend. So, thank you so much for sharing these. I truly believe that it's like yin and yang. There is no good with no bad, and no bad without good. And so there must be bad and good species. So what can you tell us actually about the bad reptilians, and how do they use those hybrid kids?
Okay.
Do you want to, Misha? Sorry, to interject real quick. Am I coming through fine audio-wise? Just real quick.
Yes.
Sorry about the trouble. For some reason my internet's dropping out today, and this never happens. But Did you talk about the age 16 experience yet?
Yeah.
Where I think you encountered the next. You already talked about that. Okay.
Yeah, we're all the way up to 1982 as an adult,
Well,
my reptilian. So I did I what?
Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead to whatever experience or whatever you were going to say.
Okay.
And we'll just jump on
I
that.
had told Polly that I had been in the MyLab programs, and that sometimes it was reptilians that would pick me up. And so I told her the reptilian experiences that are in my book that you've read. Okay. So, what I haven't talked about is I've talked a little bit about the reptilian experience. So I'll talk a little bit more about them and then answer your question as well. So within the shadow government, shall we say, deep underground military bases, as I see it, there are like levels of and degrees of who is in charge and what their agenda is. Okay, so there are some reptoids, and now these reptoids, you missed this part. But anyway, these, in my opinion, these reptoids are a part of the groups that have been coming since early times. They came in the dinosaur times. Okay, so these reptoids that I had experiences with were trying to concentrate here. These reptoids were okay. So I'll give you another reptoid experience. This one involves the fact that they were trying to find out about Ayano. So Ayano had a base on planet Earth. His ship, shall we say, their ship had landed and was inside of a mountain. Okay, and I was abducted one night because they wanted to find out where his base was, and I was not going to tell him. Now, I will also tell you that somewhere along the line in my life, I had an implant put in on the left side that went all the way up into the ocular, and I was kind of a spy. I didn't know that what it was for, of course, but they could see. So what I would say, my Ayano, my reptilian, and the Zeta Reticula that also I'd seen on the ship when I was 16 were, I believe, kind of working together. And so this one night I was being interrogated because like there's such a static noise. Can anybody else hear that? It's really hard to.
Well, I've just
Yes,
notified.
we are dealing with it. I'm sorry. Yes.
I think we got it fixed now. Sorry about that, Misha.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, and so, well, I really don't care if somebody's trying to stop us. I'm going to talk anyway. Okay, so
It's mine. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And so I feel that you've got one layer of the shadow government, or shall we say the MyLab program, that they want to know, like I said, they want to know about us and why we're being used in the program, why we're being taken in the hybrid programs and things like that. Okay, so then there's another group that want to get, and they're fighting, like their reptoids are fighting my reptilians and my ETs. Okay, they're against each other. All right, and so in this particular situation, I was being interrogated by what I would call definitely a lieutenant colonel is what he was. And I've always seen that it's lieutenant colonel or above that have been my interrogators. And my interrogation can be everything from giving me drugs to beating me up to sexually raping me to different things like that when it gets into these higher things. All right. So
you never encountered any lower ranking
no
officers. So it was always lieutenant colonels and above.
Exactly. Only in the halls and places like that I might encounter them, or I'd encounter the ones that would pick me up. I'd say they're probably special forces that would pick me up. And, they were not nice. They were rough too. And they may have been some of the ones that did some of the horrific beat ups and things like that. I don't know. But the lieutenant colonels were the ones who were the interrogators and above. And so he was screaming at me, where is he? Where's the alien? Where's the not alien? Where's the reptilian? Where's the reptilian? And where are they at? Where's their base? And I'm not going to tell him, because I found out by now that he has been I should say he's interdimensionally my mate in 3 other lives. So I'm sure not going to tell them that he's now in this dimension. He's on that base. So then they bring in another reptoid, and this one is slightly different. Could be the same race as those reptoids. I would say he is. I don't think definitely wasn't a draconian. Well, I don't know that for sure, but he wasn't a draconian that I saw like later. And they had given me a little vial and told me and forced it down me to drink it. And it was really thick. And when it went down, I immediately became disoriented, like I was drugged somehow or other.
It was a drug given to induce you into a state so that you would be more forthcoming. Is that what you suspected it was? Some kind of truth serum, like Palanine or something like that?
But evidently truth serum hadn't worked, because remember, I had been in the MK Ultra program and had been trained with trauma how to not talk and never. So part of my training was not to have my not to be interrogated and not give out the information, because then the other alter would come in. So that's why my whole
kind
story
of spy training,
Yeah, exactly, like a spy training.
Yeah.
So then this reptoid came in. Now this reptoid, as I remember, was a lighter shade of green. That's why I'm thinking he could have been the raptor, or he could have been the reptoid. I wasn't sure. And he looked into my eyes and did this like a mind melt with me. And as the interrogator was asking the questions, the answers would like come up in my head. You know how when somebody asks you a question and the answer comes up in your head, and it would just kind of like it was sucked out of my head. It just felt like it was sucked out of my head, and there was nothing I could do about it. And so I was really worried that they had gotten the information. And indeed, it had been like at least a week before I saw Ayano again. But when I did see him, he did tell me that they had gotten some information, and but by the time they had got there, we were already had taken off and gotten out of there. So that's another reptoid. And then let's see, you like more reptilian? Let me think.
So who are the reptoids? And sorry if we've covered this already. So there's the Alpha Draconis reptilians, and those are kind of the ones that I think people are most familiar with, and they're kind of, I would say, one of the kind of dominant players in the exopolitical kind of sphere. They seem to have control over the government or parts of the government, and probably other governments. They are, what would you characterize them as? Not necessarily malevolent, but they're definitely self-interested.
Okay.
Let's stick. What else would you say as far as the Alpha Draconis reptilians, as far as like what you know about them? And
okay, well, then we have to jump many, many years ahead. So in 1999, I was writing a book. We were doing the research in it with Melinda Leslie, who is a MyLab expert herself and an experiencer with the MyLab program. And so she and I were interviewing ex-militaries, ex-special forces in the secrecy and type of thing, abductees, all kinds of different people like that. So we were writing a book about the connection between the aliens, including the reptilians and the Greys and the government and the MyLab program, and how the MK Ultra was all involved in it as well. So through that time, long story short, I'd had several attacks, 3 automobile accidents. I had my identity theft, and I had countless just, how would they put it? They'd walk up to you and say things like, aren't you afraid of all the talking you're doing? It's going to get you in trouble someday, or things like that. And say, aren't you afraid for your family? Would be a shame if they found, no, he said, aren't you afraid of your family being hurt? What he said was, it was a specific interview. I was supposed to have an interview with this military guy for the book, and when he came, it said lieutenant colonel on his flak jacket, and he said to me that I'd been too busy, there'd been too many things doing, and what was when am I need to stop, you've been warned. And he said, which I had many times, and he said, it'd be a shame if anything happened to that cute little granddaughter of yours. What is she, 3 years old? And I said, how do you know I have a granddaughter? He says, we know everything about you. We know we know your granddaughter. You have 2 sons. You have a daughter-in-law. We know your sons, where they work. We know how they drive home. We know their routine. And then he stops and pauses, and he says, they find people's bones in the desert all the time. So, this kind of thing was going on. And
awful. That's so
I was asking for help, because right after that happened, I was like, really, what am I going to do now? They're after my family. I got to stop. I have to stop. Right. So I headed back home, because I lived in California, and I headed back home to my family, where my family was. And, I was going to tell him I was going to get out of everything. I was going to get out of the ufology and everything. And on the way home, I ran off the road by an unmarked van. And my eyewitnesses were the truckers said that they had come up and waited with the trucks, had pulled in and waited with the trucks until I came by, and then came off the road and shoved me off the road. So I did quit. But before I quit, I said one night in prayer, and then I said, you've got to protect my family. You have to, please protect my family. And if you don't, what do I need to do? Do I need to take myself out so that my kids can be safe? And I had an experience that night with a council of many different types of ETs. There was several humans. There was energy. There was a gray type, or what I would consider a Zeta Reticuli. So it was taller. There was a reptilian. There were some other types, and long story short, I had this conversation with them that I need to come home. Please let me come home. And they said, beloved, do you not remember you asked for this mission? You must complete this mission. And, but what we can do is help you. And so we will cancel contracts. So we'll cancel contracts, and we have sent you a protector, Ayano. And I said, yes, he is protecting me.
Really?
Well,
oh my God, I can't believe this story.
My protector, I didn't realize it was my protector too. And they said, so you have to ask, though. We cannot interfere in your life, so you have to ask. And so I didn't. I did indeed ask for Ayano to protect me, and he did come back into my life. I mean, he was in my life, but he came into my life in a way that I knew he was protecting me, because one night I had these reptilians show up in my bedroom. And I went, oh God, here I am. I'm getting abducted again and taken to a underground base. Next thing you know, he's standing on the other side of the the bedroom, and there's some kind of interaction. I can see that between them, and there's growling and hissing going on, and then they disappear. And that was the last abduction I had with them. And he was my protector, and I asked him to be my protector. And they also had me be protected by Octurians. So,
Oh my God, I can't
So,
believe this
so just to
has come to
clarify,
the fact that he is your protector
my
after
protector,
all this
I
experience.
and I would hear him come across the floor because I was still scared of. Well, not scared. I had still canceled the contracts. Okay. So I could no more have physical contracts and go on board the ship. That was the deal I made. I said, I don't want nothing. I just want my family safe. I don't want to have any interaction. I don't want to be involved in the programs anymore. I just want out. So what they did is did that, and I could hear, even in this house, I could hear Ayana come across my wood floor and stop at my bedroom, and I could tell it was him. I just knew it was, and I'd open the door and there was nothing there. But yeah, he's been my protector.
Oh my God.
So you were describing previously, just to clarify, a situation where there was a draconian reptilian in the room with you, and then Ionu showed up, and they seemed to have some kind of interaction, and Ionu resulted in the reptilian sort of leaving or vacating the area.
Right. And it
As if,
wasn't a Conan, it was a reptoid.
oh, it was a reptoid. Okay.
Yeah. Or
So
what
let's,
you might call a reptilian. They look very similar to each other. I could say that they could have been definitely in the same genetic pool.
right. Did you go into depth at all on Ayano yet, in the parts that I missed, or can we drill down on him and his appearance?
We did.
Oh, you did
We
already?
did.
Okay.
We
We
did.
did
And
already. So
and-
actually,
yeah.
what I wanted to ask you is implants. Did the reptilians give you an implant, and what kind of implants do they use? Because I don't know if all the species use the same implants. So are the reptilians related to specific implants? And if you had one, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so I don't know who gave me that. I believe that who gave me that was a gray, that I remember seeing that it was some kind of a gray being, like could have been my tall white hairless one. It could have been that one, but it could have been that group. But at the time when that happened, I did not see any reptilians in the room, so I would not say it was a rep. First of all, I don't believe the reptilians, because they do have claws, can do delicate surgery and things like, or even touch you, because I have been scratched. I've had many times where I woke up with scratches on me during my deep underground military base things, where the reptilians would come and get me and they'd scratch me. And I mean, I had these claw marks on me. And so I don't think they can, I don't know. But
Yeah, I've always wondered that, and some of them have, and I don't know if you've ever encountered these, but it's been reported that some of them have, extremely long nails, like almost
Yes.
implausibly long nails, to where, like Edward Scissorhands kind of,
Yes.
length
Yeah.
nails on them, which makes you wonder about the practicability of that, and how they, manipulate and utilize objects or tools or anything like that. So you think that even the ones that you've encountered that don't have even that long of nails, like, they would still be difficult, for them to bring.
Ayano's nails, for instance, were at least definitely longer than mine, I'll tell you. They were probably twice as long as mine. Ayano's was, okay. The reptoid's basically about the same. The Alpha Draconian that I saw later, which I haven't told about that experience, so you will get on one of those, was now happening in 1999. And that happened right just before I ran off the road. Okay. So I had Melinda and I were doing a radio show, which was called oh, good grief. Bell. What's his name? I can't remember now his name, but it was a precursor to George Norrie's show. It's the same people. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. I have
I'm blanking too. I think you've infected me.
Art Bell.
Art Bell.
Yes,
Art Bell and Coast to Coast.
Okay, Coast to Coast.
On the Art Bell show, we read, and when Art Bell did not interview us, was George Sigel that that interviewed us. But that particular night, while I was on the show, I wanted to bring out the reptilians because I we were talking about dumbs and everything, and I said I'm bringing out the reptilian things. So I no sooner said reptilians are in the underground bases when bango, my phone went off. And so I had to scramble and get a phone from a neighbor because she was on her my house phone, and my cell phone had gone. There was no way to get back on. So I scrambled and borrowed a phone from my neighbor and got back on the show. And by the time I got back on the show, they were talking about something else. So I never could talk about the reptilians. So all you can hear is, I don't even know if you can even hear reptile, but I wanted to tell them about that. So they were really ticked off about that. I will say that not that night, but the next night, because she stayed over at my house because we were working on a conference we were speaking at, and because we kind of tag teamed our conference lectures, and we were working on that. We were also working on the book, and we went to bed. And the next morning I woke up, and when I came out from my bedroom, and she was sleeping on the couch, my coffee table had a crack on it. And I said, do you know how my coffee table got cracked? And she says, no, I didn't do it. I didn't fall on it. And I said, well, that's weird. And then we just kind of she didn't stay long. She ended up going back to Laguna Hills. And I started feeling with this same feeling when you have an abduction, there's this energy, this feeling that you have, this like foreboding feeling that you got flashes happening and you can't make sense of everything. So I went to my hypnotherapist and had a session, and I found out that in the middle of the night, I don't know how many men, two is what I saw. Two men came in, got me out of bed, drug me out of bed. They were wearing night vision goggles and helmets with night vision goggles. They drugged me down my condo stairs and put me in a van. The next thing I know, she's in the van. So she and I have now many times shared our experiences. So at the same time, they did the same thing to her, which she didn't find out until hypnosis as well, some days later. And they put her in the van. But when they took her off my couch, they pulled her off, and she fell on my coffee table. So she cracked my coffee table. Okay, so then she was put in the van too. So I'm going to skip all the stuff that helped me find out what happened for time's sake and everything like that. But unless you have any questions, but they actually wanted themselves to be known that they broke into my house. So they actually showed me, and I've got, the image of it, maybe in that book, I think, I'm not sure. So anyway, so they took us to an underground base, and we could feel that we were in an elevator. I've had these conscious and unconscious times throughout the whole experience. And then I woke up in a room, and there was a lieutenant colonel, and he said to me, you've been told over and over to shut your blankety blank mouth, and this time you blew it. We're going to show you how serious, and he's cussing every other word, how serious we are. And he walks out, and in walks a draconian. Now this draconian is massive, much broader. He is has a tail. It's actually, it's like a cat's tail. It's swinging back and forth as he walks. I can see it as he walks, and then
Is this the right being?
that's the right being. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And is actually he is green and gold. So he had some green and he had some golds on his shall we say the front, and but a lot of more green around. He had these tufts which the artist didn't quite get. They were much more out there and pointed. So he came up to me and looked in my eyes and then showed me this holographic image of me and my family in this like white room. It was just like a white room. That's all I can say. It wasn't like a room. It was like an energy of white, and that's all I could see. And then, as strange as it seems, all of a sudden, these men in black ninja uniforms with big bayonets come in and start killing my family in front of me. And so, I'm screaming, they're screaming, but then I come to and I realize it's not real. It's a holographic image that he's put in my head. And in fact, at that moment, I said, is this real or is this Memorex? Because Memorex had just come out that through that time for people to, I don't know exactly why, but that's what I said. Is this real or Memorex? And I realized it was not real. It was holographic. So I was not 100% sure if he was even holographic. I can't tell you for sure if he was or not.
Yeah.
But I do know because I didn't get, and he came so close to me, I didn't get spit on or breathe or the smell. So I can't tell you exactly if it was, but I do know he was definitely not like the Reptoids and not like Ayano.
And how did you know that he was an Alpha Draconian?
I was working with David Chase, who is a reptilian specialist. He draws pictures of reptilians. He's kind of a forensic kind of artist that likes to get details and things like that. And that picture was from him. Since then, I've had another bust done of this Alpha Draconian that really was excellent, shall we say. Really did a good job. And it is at this museum and I can't tell you the name of the museum because I don't know for sure if he opened it up yet or not. But it's a alien reptilian museum in New York. So I'm not sure if it was like, yeah. But the last image that I was given on my Zoom, it's not Zoom. The other one I can't think of it. Skype. On Skype, he was much more exact with the reptilian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he was definitely a draconian. He didn't look like the reptilian. He didn't have the softer kind of scales. He had more jaggedy kind of scales.
And was that the one that had some kind of appendages on the shoulders, or was that a different reptilian?
No, that's the one that had the appendages and on the shoulders. Like you can see a little bit of them, but they were bigger and they were bigger. And to me, they would have been maybe like wings that have gotten atrophied.
Ah, okay. Right.
That's what I was feeling. That was the sense I got, that they were his wings that had become atrophied through, through the.
Right. I think that would be a good guess. I mean, what else would be, anatomically there? And some have been seen with wings.
Mm-hmm.
I can recall Randy Kramer saying about the Alpha Draconians that he encountered on Mars, that compared to, there was a kind of native reptilian species, which sometimes I wonder if it has some relationship to the terrestrial, reptilian species that are on Earth. But he said that there was a huge difference in terms of he thought that the draconian reptilians were horrible looking, that they were very ugly and not pleasant looking. They just had a kind of foul, kind of menacing look to them.
Mhm.
But he thought that the Mars reptilians were beautiful, that they were, maybe terrifying on some level, from a human perspective, but yet kind of interesting, looking.
More like geckos.
Yeah.
That's the my lab ones. Those reptiles to me look more like like even Ayano looked. I mean, had some of the gecko, and they were smoother looking, like you said, beautiful. I could see how people who like reptiles would say they look beautiful, though I don't like reptiles.
Right. Have you ever heard of the just quick sidebar on this, the Lacerta files?
Mm-hmm.
And the what do you think about that? And what do you think that reptilian, Lacerta reptilian, corresponds to in your sort of model of reptilian species?
I
Think
She's
they're
definitely not a draconian. She's not a draconian by far.
yeah. I never thought she was a draconian. She describes herself as a terrestrial, Earth originated
Mm-hmm.
species, from the dinosaurs, some
So
some
she's a
survival.
reptile.
Say that again. A reptoid.
Yeah, because I explained my connection with the reptoids and the dinosaurs and everything. I told about that today, my
Mhm.
my experience with that, and so I definitely feel Lacerda was probably some of the ones that um, went off the planet during that time, because they were not just dumb animals by any means. There was, I do believe, some um, technology and stuff. So I think some may have had ships to get off, and then others went into the inner Earth, or maybe she's part of the inner Earth group. I don't know. I'm not sure about Lacerda. I listened to some of her stuff, but not all of it. So I don't know.
I think if I recall correctly, they were not really an evolved species at the time of the cataclysm, the KT, cataclysm 65 million years ago. They were
Yeah.
just a lesser evolved. I don't know. You suggested it might have been a raptor type species, and then
And then they
they
evolved.
gradually, through natural means, contrary to humans, evolved into a sentient, intelligent species,
Yeah.
which had a multitude of strains, which they eventually, interestingly, somehow consolidated into one single species, over the course of time.
Yeah, I would surmise that during that time, yeah. In fact, I already mentioned this, but that they definitely the raptors that seemed to be the better hunters per se, according to everybody. Anyway, according to Jurassic Park. But anyway, but I don't know. But he did say the more smaller, intelligent raptors went into the inner Earth and evolved to be who you see before you. So, in my experience, but that makes sense to me that they were evolved, and yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm sorry if you've already covered this, but as far as their disposition with respect to humanity, are they positive? Are they a mixture of both? Do you think they're self-interested mostly, or what's their relationship to us? What's their relationship to the government, of the shadow government, I should say?
Well, okay, the reptoids that I saw were working with the government, and now I'm not sure it's the same one, but the one that I was walking down the hall with, that said we are in charge here. That level belonged to the reptoids. That was their level, and then the government were assisting them and working with them. So my feeling is that definitely the reptoids is what they're doing. I don't know that I wouldn't say the reptoids. I think the reptoids decided to join with the government for maybe some different reasons. I don't know why, but for the shadow government. But I think that they think they're right. They think they're in the right. Okay. They think this is their planet and we're the invaders because they told me that. So they think that they're in the right and what they're doing is good. However, there is also the draconians that come into it as well. And from my understanding from Ayano is that many of the reptoids left or escaped or left from the underground bases and the groups to join with the reptilians from off planet who have come down to assist and help. So I believe that if the reptilian like Ayano is definitely for the highest good of the planet, then if these reptoids have what's what I'm trying to think of, they rebels. They would be like the rebels have got away from the draconians and the controllers and have come to work with the reptilians. So I think that there's a belief. My belief is that there is probably a lot of reptilians that are still with the shadow government, but a lot of reptilians that are with the Pleiadians, the Syrians, because actually my reptilian told me he was from Sirius. Okay, so
Okay.
that he was from
Ayano.
Ayano says he's from Sirius. So, and I've heard this as a hypnotherapist. I've hypnotized a lot of reptilian experiences because there is a lot of reptilian experiences, a lot more than people think. But they're so afraid to say anything. And some of them had really wonderful, loving experiences. Some of them have had scary experiences. But there is definitely a good and a bad that are at battle with each other here on planet Earth, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think, according to Ray Hernandez's questionnaire studies, that 37% of all contact experiencers, I think it's 37%, I could be wrong, but I think as much as 37% have contact with reptilians, which is a pretty high number, surprisingly high number.
That's because if they were here first with the dinosaurs, then they feel that they have genetic stake with us. So I think that they do believe that. I don't know that we really are genetically compatible, though, but they do. I will tell you, even myself, I've had reptoid experiences that was not Ayano that felt sexual, and I've had a lot of women have those too. So they have some kind of interest in us for sure in that respect too.
What do you think should be humanity's relationship to the reptoids, if they are, in fact, if the narrative is true that they were native, that they are native, and that they were here before us, going forward, once we, become, collectively awake and aware, to their presence, what should, our society, what should our disposition be with respect to their presence here? Have you ever thought about that question? That's an interesting thing because they are seemingly, or at least, some faction of them are kind of predatorial.
Mm-hmm.
They are negative. But it doesn't seem right to me that we should feel to exterminate them. I mean, it just does not feel wise in any sense. What do you think about that? Like, how should we relate to them, or how should we think about them?
That's a good question. Let me think. Well, we are such a bigoted society. We can't even get along with people in different color, different ethnicities. it's, to me, part of our experience, our lesson that we need to learn is to how to be able to live with extraterrestrials. I'll tell you, for instance, in Sirius, I feel strongly that I've had experiences where I've been there and seen it, and reptilians, feline races, human races, aquatic races are living together in harmony. I also believe that they, during Lemuria, those races lived together in harmony. So maybe that's our mission, is to try to live together in harmony. But that doesn't mean that we want a reptilian race to come in and say, okay, we're going to rescue you and we're in charge. No, 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 no. No, everybody's equal. Everybody's equal. Nobody's in charge.
Right.
That's the best thing
Yeah,
I can do.
it seemed like the best case scenario is that we could negotiate, some kind of treaty, where, they're no longer, preying upon humans or doing any of these negative activities. And we just reconcile with their presence and leave it at that. And hopefully there's something that we can bring to the table, that's of value, in order to garner, the correct behavior from them, which is, a peaceful one.
And even the Greys, we have to get along with. We have to learn how to get along with the Greys. Our government gets along with the tall whites out at Creech Air Force Base. They're part of S6 or S4 or whatever it is. They're working with them, so they're getting along with them. So, yeah, we do. I think maybe part of our thing is to stop being, start being more non-judgmental and unconditionally civilization, and look at people. If they have a soul, look at their soul. Okay. I'm not saying draconians or reptilians or any of them do or don't have a soul, because I'm not going to have that down on me. But, I mean, anybody with a soul we should look at them as an equal. Because they call our bodies containers. Greys do. The Ebens call our bodies containers. Containers of what? Well, containers of the soul. So, and I do believe that Ayano has a soul, because why else would somebody save my life? And he actually has come during a government ritual ceremony to save my life. So I could go into that quickly if you wanted me to.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we go into that?
Okay. So I've had several, during the MK Ultra, I've had several ritual experiences. One particular one, I would consider in some kind of, say, dumb or cave. I couldn't tell you which. Okay. But I do know that they were humans around me, but not military per se. And because they were all in cloaks and stuff. But one night, when I think I was in a white. The people ahead of me had been sacrificed. The women, I should say, ahead of me had been sacrificed, and I think I was about to be sacrificed. And there were reptilians in cloaks and humans in cloaks, or maybe there were draconians in cloaks. I can't tell you for sure. And because they had cloaks on, so all I could tell is they had reptilians, and they had the reptilian eyes. And a reptilian came in a cloak and took a hold of my arm and said something telepathically, or not telepathically, some kind of gurgly, hissy, growly language to the reptilian that was standing there. And he took me off, and he said telepathically to me, "It's me, Ayano." Ayano, he said, we have to hurry. So we ran through these catacombs, these caves, and till all of a sudden the wall opened up. There was a bright energy, like an orb energy light, gold. And we went through it. And the next thing I know, I was on board a ship. And so I believe he absolutely saved me. I don't believe a soulless being would save me. Plus, I just know he has a soul.
And
He does.
And he sort of infiltrated that ritual by disguising himself. That's very interesting that, ETs of telepathic nature, unless, he has some kind of means of sort of blocking their ability to read, him telepathically, that he could just come. I wouldn't have thought that that was possible unless, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's true. It's a memory I have, and it's and I went into hypnosis about it because it was a ritual experience, and I went into hypnosis. I that's the memory I have, that we were there and then we were not, that he took me. So but you're right, they're telepathic. I don't know. If he is the same race as them, he could have got away with it. Do they have some blocking mechanisms? I don't know. I never thought about that. I'm going to have to go to a hypnosis session and get a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Though it's not implausible that, an advanced species, that might be a little more advanced, might have some kind of way to counter, their telepathic abilities to read them, or have developed or devised some kind of means to infiltrate, despite, the advanced technology and telepathic nature of the draconians, that there may be still, ways to circumvent that, if you are an advanced species and you have, a lot of know-how and you've dealt with them, for millennia, you might well have developed, some kind of advanced techniques and doing those things.
Yeah, I don't know. But he is from Sirius, so I would say he's going to be advanced. If he's from Sirius, he didn't live here on this planet like these reptoids did. So he's got to be more advanced than them, I would think.
Yeah. So yeah, then it's more plausible that he could well, have some kind of ways and means to infiltrate or to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we want to get into. I did want to inquire a little bit because you witnessed the harvesting of negative energy. During these rituals, you witnessed the draconians. In what manner do they do this, and what do you think they are getting out of the? I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to use.
Loosh.
You would call it loosh. So we're talking about not so much adrenalized blood in the case of loosh, but more of like an energy. They're sort of siphoning off the energy. What does it look like when they're doing that? How do they react when they get the loosh?
Okay.
And what do you think is the ultimate reason why they're harvesting it?
Okay. So during a ritual, during a sacrifice, it was children. So it might have to do with that because, of course, they have the clean adrenochrome. So if they're getting everything, including the adrenochrome and loosh, then possible. But I don't know if I'm able to say that word. But are we safe to say that word?
Well, I don't know. There's some questions as to whether it's safe or not, but we've already said it, so
It's
okay.
Forgot about that. Okay, so the reptoid draconians, whatever they were, I couldn't tell you what they were, but I do know they had longer noses than I've ever seen. Their noses, their snouts were and so they might be a lower evolved raptor, but anyway, they were standing there, and I telepathically saw it. Okay, so I didn't see any energy. I telepathically knew what was happening. It was as if I could telepathically see an energy moving from the child to the reptilia. And then it was as if he got this kind of energy because he went, and his demeanor changed. And so I believe it's drug. It's like a drug to them. It like gives them some big push,
pleasure.
some pleasure high. Yes. Yeah.
And is it exclusively pleasure, or are they, I've and many others have had the feeling that, they may be sustaining themselves energetically, from harvesting this energy.
Yes, they get a boost. They definitely get a boost. They come up like that and they're like standing there, and it's like as if when it comes to them, they're pushed back with this energy. It's so strong. I mean, I'm not pushed to energy, but pushed back when they get it inside of them, that it kind of makes them even stand up taller. So it might be like an energy thing, because it did seem definitely like they just got stand like that. I don't know. That's how I.
And so to harvest it, they would just sort of come in the vicinity of the individual who was being sacrificed, and just by virtue of the proximity. Or was there were they, sort of trying to draw it to them, or anything?
They were coming one by one. They were there wanting. I remember seeing at least 3 of them come up and do that very thing. So they were specifically doing it because they needed it, probably wanted it, whatever, but it definitely gave them a high. And the I've already said the word, supposedly what we've heard too does give some kind of a high to humans. They say they use that as a to make them feel younger. Yeah.
Like a kind of anti-aging drug or something.
Rejuvenation, something.
Yeah, like a rejuvenation, anti-aging, fountain of youth, that kind of thing. So that's what I was getting. And because it wasn't a little deal, this was a big, huge ceremony. This was in where I would say Victoria Island is where I think this was. It was at a big mansion, and there were, on top of a ledge above were these military people, a military man, and I would say it was probably a general or something like that, and a draconian. This definitely was draconian, some kind of draconian species, I think, because he was up there and they were 2 standing there overseeing everything that was happening. So the soldier, the military man knew what was going on. Well, I guess he knew what was going on, but he knew the sacrifice was going on. So they're involved.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up soon.
Can I give about my groups?
Sorry, say again.
Can I tell people about my groups?
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead and take as much time as you need, and give us all that information. Yeah.
All right, so they can find I know you've got the website, starseedawakening.org, but my groups, I've been doing groups since 1990. I first started with men and women's groups, and it went to women's groups, and I went to men's groups, and it also added teen groups because my teens, and then other teens, and then I have parents and their children, little ones groups, and so I've had those groups, and now for the last 12 years have been doing groups online through virtual Zoom. Well, now I'm doing through virtual Zoom, and these groups I have up to 14 a month. I do 3 a week. I do a Wednesday, Thursday, and a Sunday. I do from like 3 o'clock. Sometimes they start at 12. Sometimes they start at 3 o'clock. Sometimes they start at 4. Just kind of depends on my target of the people I'm trying to get, if they're from Europe or overseas. And so I have groups for I have groups that we just talk about reptilian experiences. I have groups we talk about ET of all types of experiences. I have hybrid groups. I have targeted individual groups. I have veterans and the military aspects of with veterans who've had strange CIA and other governmental and alien types of things happen. And then, of course, going all the way up into SSP. I have MK Ultra SRA groups. I have twin flame groups. Some of those are like divine twin flames, soulmates, and alien love bites. I have a millennial and Gen Z group just for them, and I have one of my members who is a millennial who's the facilitator of it, so they can talk their lingo and everything. I have a galactic light language because I do communicate and speak galactic light languages, many different extraterrestrial galactic languages, and automatic write, and so I'm helping other people connect with their guides and with their ascended masters or with their angelics, and work with them to help them get a real strong connection so that they can find and work on their missions as well. Let me see, I think that's might be another group there. Oh, a My Lab, of course, a My Lab and Deep Underground Military Base. And then all my Sunday groups are mixed groups. We talk about all the subjects. And then through the other groups, we talk about specific categories. And those are the targeted and the veterans one is free. But the others, if you'll join and subscribe, it's a very inexpensive subscription. It's like you can come to, if you come to all of the groups, it's not even a cup of coffee. It doesn't even charge for that, So it's very inexpensive. So they can go to my website to find those out. You can also go to my website because I specialize in trauma release hypnosis for other people who are MK Ultra, Secret Space Program, or abduction ET experiences, about their experiences, past life experiences, because we find that the reason we're on this planet is we are working out some things. Okay. So we're parallel lives. We're in other past parallel lives, on planet, off planet. We are working out things. So we talk about and work on that. Also cut cords, cancel contracts, eliminate, dissolve entities, or not exercise. Well, that's the best word to word. Exercise entities and things like that. Integrate altars. So people have multiple altars where I help them integrate those altars. So that's it's a multidimensional kind of hypnotherapy that I do. And then of course I do the readings with this is my book, my newest book. I don't know if you have any information about that, but that is, you can handle the truth. So I go into everything in my life, and then I also go into people and how they can and what they can do to help themselves. And then of course I have my other book, which is the Galactic Planet. Yeah, there we go. Galactic Planet.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I do the readings for people, and then I have my Oracle deck, which is just to give you a little touch of that. I do readings for people to help them find out. It's a really beautiful deck. It has a lot of information in it as well. And so this is my entire mission, and has been it since I woke up in the 80s. So I want to help people who don't have anyone else to talk to, and they need people. It is very important that if you're an experience, you don't just stuff that feeling. There's a reason why you're remembering. Most of the time, it is time for you to remember. It's time for you to realize who you really are and what your mission is here on planet Earth. And so I like to help people with that, and so that they can go out and help others. So that's our mission.
Beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful. It's just amazing, all the groups that you run. I mean, I hard to believe that one person can do all that, and yeah, I mean, that's tremendously needed work that there's just not a lot of resources for, and so yeah, hopefully we'll have all that in the description. If not, I'm going to add it. And yeah, I encourage anyone, who's watching this that has experiences of any kind, because it seems like you cover pretty much everything.
I do.
Please look into that. Polly, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, it was a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I learned so much, and thank you so much for all you're doing. So
Thank you.
I will see you all later.
Okay.
Huge
All right,
hugs,
Polly.
everyone.
Come to group. Come to group. Come to group.
I will. Thank you so much.
Check it out, without even paying, by the way. I
Oh,
always
thank
people
you
a chance
so
to
much.
come in and check it out. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
Okay, everyone, thank you for watching, and we run live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, thank you, Misha, very much. This was a great interview. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Oh, go ahead. You have one more thing to say? Go ahead.
Okay. So on my website, you'll also see UFO night vision tours. I do also through Airbnb experience. I do this. This is another thing I do. I'm a very busy lady. I do night vision tours with like CE5s, and I take people out to do night vision tours. So I have night vision goggles like the ones that the military use. They are military grade night vision goggles, and I take people out to see the stars, to watch the UFOs, because it's an ET highway up there, I will tell you. And in Las Vegas, we have, luckily, or not luckily, I don't know what you would say, a portal, a wormhole that we can watch UFOs disappear into. So
Oh, wow.
if you're ever coming to Las Vegas, go to my website and contact me and book a night vision tour with me. I also offer people a little reading while I'm out there as well as give them lots of information.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, that's always something that I've wanted to do. Yeah, I heard you can really actually see quite a lot. Yeah, with night vision goggles, surprisingly. Yeah.
50,000 times more than you can with the naked eye. So you can be
50 times more.
50,000 times more. So
50,000.
you can see
Wow.
you can see hundreds of miles up. You can see 500 miles, as far as 500 miles up, really, with the night vision goggles.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
And the satellites usually are running around 3 to 4, maybe. So we can see above that. It used to be before Elon Musk's Starlink. They used to be lower, but with all the thousands of Starlink satellites now, they actually moved up. And that's why they moved up. And I think that's why we have so many, because they are using that wormhole to go in and out of whatever it is, universes or whatever they're doing. So, yeah. So we have so you can see them up in the sky.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone to, who's in the area to check that out. And that sounds like it would be a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah, tell them that you saw you and I'll give you a 25% discount if they saw me on your show.
Okay, all right.
And that's also with my hypnosis. If they say they saw you on there, on here, I'll give them a 25% discount.
Okay, well, great. Yeah, thank you for giving that offer. Yeah, that's a nice discount. But okay, yeah, thank you very much, Misha. Yeah, it's just been a great episode, despite the technical difficulty. I think it was, just really interesting, and we'll have to have you back on at some point, because I think there's a lot more experiences we can talk about and other beings that we didn't get into, and we should definitely set that up sometime.
Okay, love to.
But yeah, thank you, Misha. Thank you, Polly, for co-hosting, and thank you, everyone, for watching. Okay, have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. A Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure is looking to talk with ufologists, researchers, investigators, contactees, abductees, channelers, and more for upcoming shows. Or if you have stories, photos, videos, questions, suggestions, or comments, please contact us through Messenger or email us at paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. I thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.